Good morning and welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here or for never going away over the summer, because I know that's true for many of us. But welcome to this academic year. I appreciate you being here. We're going to talk about some things that have happened over the last year. We're going to talk about some things yet to come. This is always sort of a great time to take stock. It's also a great time to welcome those to the 5th annual event such as this, the fall kickoff. This is the 5th year we've done this. Some of you, I know, not just me, have been here for all 5, so thank you for that. For some of you, it's the first time, and so for all of you who are here for the first time, either on our campus or just decided to come here, we especially appreciate that. Really had a great time getting to know, getting to meet some of our new faculty last week at the orientation. Thank you for choosing Augusta University. We also have some great new leaders here, and as soon as I start putting pictures up, I run the risk of somebody going, why am I not up there? But it is really a pleasure to introduce some of our senior leadership, some of whom have been on the ground for a while, and others really just hit the door. These include Yvonne Turner, Katrina Kiefer, Judy Wilson, who's not a new person, but new to that role. She's been one of us for a long time, and we welcome her to that dean's role. Tiffany Townsend, who will join us in September. She is not here yet, though she has moved now to Augusta, so she'll be here very shortly. Debbie Vaughn's been here probably the longest of this group, having come in October of last year. Could have been November, but we're so happy that she's here as well. And Ron Booth, who just hit the ground not too very long ago, came to us from Auburn. So thank you to the leaders. Also wanted especially to welcome those of you, we are live streaming, and so if you couldn't be here in person, thank you for joining us virtually. We also will have this put onto the Provost website in case you just couldn't get enough and you wanted to see it again, or for your colleagues, you might mention that, because once I get into the data stream of things, there'll be a lot of things that you may want to go back to and actually take a little more time to focus on. As I say, welcome to people. It's also important, I think, that we recognize some folks. And there are many people who have had such a wonderful journey here. I'm not going to go through all the folks who retired this past year, though understand how deeply we appreciate their contributions. But I think it's only fitting to take a moment to recognize a woman who is not gone yet. Make no mistake. And if you don't believe it, I can point you down here and she'll set you straight. But just wanted to recognize Dean Lucy Marion for all that she has done for us, as well as for the profession of nursing, not just here, but throughout Georgia and throughout the nation as a leader in the nursing profession and nursing education. She's been 15 years with us. She will retire from that role later this year. So please, if you would, help me recognize Lucy. Thank you. We can't ever leave you without some handouts, of course, and so I wanted you to have a takeaway. We won't go through these right now. We will touch on many of these and some in more detail as we go through some later parts of the presentation, but I wanted you to have this so that you could come back to that. These infographics are also on the website in terms of institutional effectiveness, the great job that they do in terms of putting these kind of fun facts together. Just one caveat, just note that this is specifically of this date because some of these will change. These facts are not hardened yet, particularly the enrollment that we'll talk about as we go on later. So everything we do and why we are here is really grounded in our mission. And that mission is wrapped into a lot of things and a lot of words, but it really is about providing a student-centered, comprehensive research university approach to all that we do, and the Academic Health Center and Health Sciences University of the state of Georgia. So all of that wrapped together is why we're here, along with our vision of what we aim to be, and in fact, in many aspects are already, and that is that destination of choice. We'll come back to that and how we're going there in just a bit. Probably some of you know that values are kind of a thing for me. Some might even call it an obsession. So I won't go through my spiel for all of these, but I will just say that the 6 institutional values that we together as a collective embrace are really important as we strive to embrace the culture that we want, not just internally, but as we present ourselves throughout really the world. These together form that sort of North Star that really should inform us in all of our actions and the activities and the interactions as humans. And now, in terms of the last one, the last value, which is leadership, we are all leaders, as are our students, as every person that enters our community. But kind of first among those leaders, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our president, Dr. Brooks Keel.
Well, good morning, everybody. What a great day it is to kick off the 1919, no, God almighty.
Not that far in the rearview mirror.
Folks, sometimes it seems that way, I know. The 2019-2020 academic year, and what a pleasure it is to spend a few minutes with you this morning. I'll turn things back over to the Provost who will kick things off on this academic year. But thank you so much for being out. I'm looking around. All these sections are, except for this section, right? That's all the deans. So, you know, they're going to be right up front, brown nosing. So it's always good to see y'all up front. And let me just echo the Provost's comments. Dean Marion, you're not just the Dean of Nursing for this institution. You're the Dean of Nursing for the entire state of Georgia. We greatly appreciate everything that you have done and will continue to do, because you're not just going away. You're just passing the mantle on to someone else. So what a great time it is. This past Saturday, I had an opportunity to stop by and walk through the residence halls and see our new students moving in and talk to some of their families. And that's always a fun time. If you can't get excited about what we do at this institution, if you can't get excited about both convocation and commencement, those two bookend opportunities for us to celebrate what we do here, if you can't get excited about that, then you really are in the wrong place. You're in the wrong business. If you can't get excited about seeing those young people come on board, what a great thing that is. You've heard me say many, many times, and I never get tired of saying it, so I hope you never get tired of hearing it. We have one priority at this institution. The Provost taught you about our mission and our values and our vision, but that is really centered on a foundation of one priority, and that one priority is our patients and our students. We are all here, and every single thing we do is centered around trying to provide the best high caliber education training we can provide for our students and the most outstanding patient care, innovative patient care we can provide for our patients. That's what we're all about, and what a great place this is to be able to do just that. Did y'all see the bell when you came in? Isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen? And not just because it's a beautiful thing in and of itself. And again, much thanks to our facilities folks. You know, we need to thank our facilities folks more than we do, because they're the unsung heroes that make this place what it is. But what craftsmen that found that old beat up bell and brought it back to its luster, and what a great way to establish new traditions as at commencement and convocation, we ring that bell 3 times, one for the past, one for the present, and once for the future. And that reminds me of what's one of the other things that's very special about this institution, is that we're a 6-year-old university with a 191-year history. Now, think about that for a minute. What that tells me is that we have a chance to determine what this university is going to be for the rest of time. I don't know of any other place on the planet where we as a faculty, we as a staff, and we as students have a chance to really determine what we're going to be moving forward. We are a blank slate in terms of what this university is. And I think that bell is a great reminder that as we establish new traditions, we're also establishing what this institution is as we move forward. 9,266 students. Did I get that right so far? Well, I hope so, because I want to see at least 9,300. So we got 34 more to go. So pull out your cell phone, start calling people up. Let's keep people in. Enrollment is such a huge part of why we're here, and what an exciting place to be when enrollment is actually increasing. All the institutions in this state can't say that. So much thanks to you for making this place the type of place the students want to come, and they want to come not just from Augusta. As important as that is, but they're coming from all over the state of Georgia. More than 50% of our freshmen now, as you know, come from out of state. And I'm probably stealing some of the Provost thunder, but that tells me that we're no longer just an Augusta University. Again, as important as that is to us, and we still want to do that, we're becoming a university of choice, a destination university for the entire state of Georgia. And how exciting is that? A lot of change is going to be happening this next year. The Provost will tell us some about that, I'm sure. Well, we're going to be cutting the ribbon on the new College of Science Mathematics building down on the Health Sciences campus later this month, and not cutting the ribbon, breaking the ground. I'm getting either ahead or behind myself. I can't figure out which. We're going to be groundbreaking our new College of Science and Mathematics building down on the Health Sciences campus, and I know that's causing some inconvenience. I'm not going to open up for questions, but I would tell you if I did, the first question I would get asked is, what about parking? Sorry, it's not going to get any better, but we are beginning to address that. But folks, that's just the price of progress. The opportunity to move the College of Science and Mathematics building down to that campus, have those young people in the middle of all the white coats, and then have a chance for the rest of this campus, some of it to expand. What an exciting opportunity it is for us. So I appreciate your patience as we move forward with that. Well, as you can tell, I'm a little bit biased because this is my university. I'm saying that because I really did graduate from both the undergraduate campus and the graduate campus of this university. It's very humbling to be president of my university, and I hope that you will see this as your university as well. And as we bring in those 9,300 students, what a great way to carry on that tradition in future generations. So thank y'all so much for being here. Let's all get off to a great year, and go Jags!
Thank you. Thank you, President Keel. So, last year at this time, we were introducing you to something that we had launched with your input. This is your strategic plan, Beyond Boundaries. It's our university strategic plan for, at that point, the next 4 years. We pledged at that point to have certain key performance indicators that we would identify and then track as a way of telling how we're doing, what kind of progress we're making, where we should be trying to get to. It's not the only things, certainly, that we put against this plan. It's a very robust one, but there are certain ones in each of the strategic priorities. And these are listed, as you can see on the screen. What I want to do today is, one, go through those in terms of letting you have an idea of where we are tracking those, as well as some other things. So it's not going to be just about these, but I do want to take this opportunity to give you a bit of a progress report. There is a progress report published, actually. If you go to augusta.edu/Beyond Boundaries, it flips you into the planning and the strategic plan site. And there you can find even more detail and some very interesting narrative, small stories about some of the initiatives and the things that have taken place that aren't so just cold, hard numbers kind of things. But as we go through, you'll also see that we'll have the strategic priorities open with a nice picture, for one thing, but also a quote. So to give you a context for that, we actually engaged a creative marketing firm, Crane, earlier this year to have focus groups of students, staff, and faculty to really try to get a feel for what was the essence of our university, because we want to use that to message to our prospective students. So what was really rich and robust there was the complaints, because they also told us what wasn't so good, and that's what we expected as well. Wasn't anything actually new, which is probably a good thing that we expected, but also what wonderful, wonderful things were going on with respect to all of these areas. And so I just thought it would be nice to share some of those with you as we open each of those sections. So in terms of those 4 KPIs or key performance metrics that we talked about for education progress, we have a number of other ones as well. But in terms of total enrollment, as you saw on the infographic and then Dr. Keel alluded to, as of last Friday, it was 9266. This morning, it was 9293. So we're getting closer to that 9,300. However, understand this is not final. It may go up. It may also go down because there's always melt. There are always students who go, Not so much. And so we try to keep that to a bare minimum. But this is not the final, which will actually be recorded in October at the census date for the University System of Georgia. Other important things are degrees awarded, obviously. How are we doing in terms of graduating? What's happening there with respect to our programs? You can see then that has also risen. We're tracking this from fall of 2015, so using a 5-year window. There's nothing really magic about that, but we wanted to get you a bit of a longitudinal look at it. If you look at the 1-year retention rate for freshmen, for entering freshmen, obviously there's retention rate every year, and we pay close attention to that as well. But this is a nationally reported metric, and that is the students who were new freshmen one fall, how many of those returned to your institution fall two. And so here you can see our progress. We are on the right track. It is up this year to 76, I wish it were 96, 76%. And likewise, it's how quickly we're awarding those degrees. They may be increasing, but how are our students progressing toward that all-important diploma? You can see here that we have seen a significant rise to 40%. Is that where we want it to be? Absolutely not. Are any of these really where we want them to be? No. We have much higher goals for each of these, as I know you do as well, and we're avid about doing everything we can to get there. But progress is good, and I'm really, really pleased with these numbers, as well as want to recognize all the work. The students have to do the work. I mean, don't misunderstand me. We can't give them that diploma. We certainly aren't about that. But you, all of you, faculty and staff involved with students are so, so critical. And it could not occur without your good work. We support those students. We offer them every opportunity to manifest their own innate drive to do and to succeed. We're also very aware that in order to drive that enrollment that we want to grow and grow, we have to have brand recognition. That's why we talk about how to market ourselves, how we want to get the word out about what a great university, what a value we are to students as they choose their educational path. We also want to have programs that actually showcase some of what we are. And so we have a variety of those that you can see here that are actually at various levels. We have pre-collegiate summer programs. Thank you for those of you who just finished up some of those. They were really a great success. They were in various areas and supported by various units. We have undergraduate programs that are key. We have dual enrolled. It'll be close to probably 200 dual enrolled students who are high school students that are tasting college, as you know, right here in our classrooms. And hopefully we will matriculate them fully as students later on, though of course they have a choice to go anywhere. Jaguar Jumpstart's a great summer pre-matriculation program that continues to grow. We thank all of you who are involved in that for making that a success. It really does boost students who may feel less prepared or who don't quite meet our entrance standards into a fully matriculated fall. With a little bit of a summer boost, and that's been very successful. And we have a great partnership with East Georgia at the Augusta site right here on our campus. And some of those students actually take courses while they're actually East Georgia students, but they take our courses as well so that they too will know exactly what we're about and will matriculate in. We have other graduate and professional programs, a summer research program, as well as others. So let's talk a little bit more detail about the enrollment growth. At some point, I promise I will stop basing things like pre-consolidation and post-consolidation, but we're not quite there yet because, as Dr. Keel noted, this is truly a new day for us. That was a watershed moment in all of that long history of our institutions to become singular, the institution. And so we do still track that journey in terms of where we'll be. You can see there the fall new freshmen and what's happened since then in terms of a start at 2013, which was the first semester after consolidation, and where we've grown, the change that we see and are anticipating for this year. It's also driven, as you can note below, by a really dramatic increase in undergraduate applications. This was partly due to the marketing. This is partly due to the great brand. It's partly due to the fact that it was a mission change. We were now a different university than we were all in. And that draws more broadly and with a greater reach than in previous years. So very intentional there and great to see. Graduate and professional have grown as well, but not so much because there's such an overwhelming application to some of the high demand professional programs, medicine and dentistry, that they kind of flood everything anyway, and the changes are not so great there. If we go further into that, the success measures that we talk about again, how are our students actually doing and how well are they progressing through? Some of the points here I think are really key for us to keep in mind. Fall 2012 was the last fall prior to consolidation, so it's sort of the start point for some of these success measures. As of fall 18, because of our 4 years for you, you can see the dramatic increase in students enrolled for full-time, truly full-time, not just financial aid full-time, but 15 credit hours a semester in their first semester. And you can see how many actually earned. We would like that to be even greater, but certainly a tenfold increase from 4% to 42 is not too shabby. We continue to want that to get higher and higher. Likewise, the progression has grown dramatically, and the retention is growing, but we still lose a lot of students. And it's not because they're flunking out, and it's really not all because they're just going to the University of Georgia or that kind of thing. We're very intent on trying to track why students stop out or maybe even drop out. And try to lure them back or retain them, because the best student to have is the one that's already here, that we can actually retain through all of your good work. Graduation rates, again, we're seeing some dramatic increases. 6-year graduation rate, which is, again, that nationally reported sort of benchmark, has grown from 29% to 40%. Again, like it to be a lot higher. Also dramatic is the 4-year graduation rate. The number of students in the cohort that actually finish in essentially 8 semesters, which is the standard time frame. There could be some summers in there as well, but nonetheless graduate on time. And that's gone really 4.5-fold up since that time. There are lots of things that go into the ability for students to progress. One of them, a biggie, is the ability to pay for their education and to live during the time that they're in school. And so we are always very attentive to our financial aid burden, the type of aid that's given, the ways that we can increase it for our students, increase the opportunity for scholarships, for other types of aid. We don't have nearly the scholarship dollars that a truly mature comprehensive research university would have. And that's something that our advancement folks are dead set on, just excited to get that growing as much as possible for us. And I know the president is going to lead that as we go into a campaign later on. This gives you a little bit of a rack and stack. You'll see the increases that are noted here are year over year. So this was last year because we don't have this year's data yet, of course. So from the fall of 18, you'll see that, and that's comparing it to 17. You'll see that the increases are, that all the aids went up. Recall, though, that we are also increasing the number of students because we do have an increased enrollment, which was great. So that's part of what it is. The other really very encouraging thing, look at what's happened with our students' eligibility at the undergraduate level for HOPE, for the HOPE Scholarship, how rapidly that's really rising, and even higher, the Zell Miller, that upper level of performance kind of scholarship. So that's a great indication. Not only are we growing enrollment, we are also growing in the preparedness of our students and the way that they are then likely, hopefully, to perform during college. You can see the average loan debt, though, at the bottom, our loan debt for undergraduates and for graduate and professional. That's a heavy burden to bear. So we do want to do everything we can to minimize that or to make opportunities available. We also have some programs with not nearly enough dollars in them, but at least we have some, wherein we can do a college completion award, an actual scholarship, it's not a loan, where usually small dollars of unmet need, often in a senior who's got 1 semester to graduate and just really can't enroll because they can't pay the bill. We will with their application, will actually award those students dollars in order to finish. We have some dollars from various places, and in the last 2 years, there have been 191 students who've been awarded this kind of aid, and it roughly winds up being $280,000 or so that we have gone into them. So sometimes a little means an awful lot. In terms of lots of other things that are going into student success, it is very multifactorial. I could spend most of the rest of the hour probably on each one of these, but just wanted to name a few, and then we'll call out a little bit of the data on some of them. But these and other opportunities are really the kinds of things that we want our students to experience here. It happens in the classroom, but it also happens outside the classroom, as you all well know, and we have to build that environment. We are particularly focused on student success, and I guess you're getting that point, and we are also focused on faculty success that I'll get to in just a bit. But in terms of student success, one of the changes in my leadership structure this year was to appoint really not new faces, new people, but to really put them in a little bit different streams so that we could actually focus better in that way. So Dr. Zach Kelly here is the Vice Provost for Instruction, and not everything here reports to him, but he probably feels like that and a whole lot more most of the time. But really the things that are key to driving that faculty success. Also, of course, is our great student affairs. So I don't want to ever minimize that, because our student services, student affairs, the things that happen outside as a co-curricular experience to our students are so key. And that's a great job, and all of the folks that are under Dr. Susan Davies in that regard. So just to think about a few of these, to call out our Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship, that's a program that precedes all the consolidation stuff, and continues to grow. We've infused dollars into that for a permanent director now, and it continues to be really key for the students. Learning by doing, you'll remember, those of you who were here for it, that's our quality enhancement plan for the SACS COC. It continues to thrive and really offer opportunities for our students they wouldn't have otherwise. Study abroad grows and grows, and lots more opportunities there. We want all of our students to at least have the opportunity to do that if they choose. Again, finances is a serious issue for those students in order to actually underwrite the trips. And the honors program is at an all-time high, really, and is poised, we believe, to get to that next level of actually becoming an honors college. There's no magic about exactly when that trigger is pulled, but we would really like to see an honors college here. In the meantime, our honors program is bang up, and the students in it do so well, not just locally, but at national meetings. I doubt that many people think of athletics as a high-impact practice when they think about academics and student success, but I would offer that at Augusta University, it really is. We should think about our athletics programs, and kudos to the coaches, to all the folks involved, to our AD, Clint Bryant. Thank you for being here, for one thing, but also to this program, because year after year, our student athletes perform, not just to make us proud on the court, on the course, on the field, but in the classroom and academically. I mean, these stats, I think, are remarkable. And so I really, really appreciate that. And maybe we should figure out how to get every student to be an athlete. That might be a great success strategy. We're always on the way to what's next in terms of academic programming, how we can grow our academic portfolio to best meet the demands of the students, but also the demands of our workplace, our environment, our world, in terms of what our graduates will be prepared to do should they choose that path. Some of the new academic programs this year, and one of them actually was only approved at the last Board of Regents meeting, which was last Thursday. That's the Master of Science in Biological and Computational Mathematics. But all of these throughout this past year are new programs that we now are either already enrolling students in or are poised to do so. It's interesting, these represent offerings from 4 different colleges and at both the undergraduate and graduate level. So we are moving along in terms of becoming that more robust, truly comprehensive university. If you think about this journey, and I asked whether this tree was an oak tree because I thought that might be appropriate. Pretty sure it's not based on the leaf, but nonetheless, you get the point there. Again, if we take a look at what we brought together at consolidation from our two legacy institutions, we had together 111 academic programs. These include degree programs and official certificate programs. 111. So now, 6 years later, we're at 160. I think that's remarkable. I think that's truly remarkable, and that's not from anything I was doing, though I did kind of push some things here and there and present them to the Board of Regents. That's on you. That's the faculty involved in building the capacity to deliver these offerings. We have made some great investments. We've made some new faculty hires, but much of this was right on the backs of those who were already here. So thank you for that. This is truly a great array of offerings for our students. And that goes to part of that vision that I talked about, a top-tier university and a destination of choice. We are already a destination of choice. We continue to be, and we will grow that. Certainly, we have many things to be proud of. We have rankings, and you only believe in rankings when you're up there, at the top, so to speak. But nonetheless, we always want to herald those. We have some great, very highly ranked programs, nursing and dentistry and some of the other medical specialties. We also have, as I mentioned, highly selected professional programs. You can see there the number of applicants for dentistry and medicine and the class size that must be seated by accreditation purposes. So we're highly, highly competitive. We also have some great professional scholars programs, which truly are changing the way that a broader community thinks of Augusta University, and they think of it first, not to go somewhere else to undergrad and then come to try to get into medical or dental school, but to actually do it here. Likewise, the BSN program, which guarantees, with the appropriate credentials and the appropriate progression, the entry into the BSN program as they enter as freshmen. So all of these are really making a difference. Not that everybody's going to come here and go on that path, not at all. But all the things we can do to spread the word about what we have here and the kinds of programs, the kind of university we are, will do us all good. The top undergraduate majors, I showed these last year, and they haven't changed an awful lot, actually. They continue to be where the strength is in terms of applicant desire. They may not all stay in these programs, of course. Once they get here, they could change around, but you can see those listed here in terms of those that remain very strong. And again, they represent a variety of colleges. And all of that, as I mentioned, is really built on the faculty, on the energy, the passion that the faculty bring to those programs, to the educational offering, to the interaction. And you saw faculty relationships as really one of the center cells of that sort of beehive honeycomb, that's for you, Zach, that I showed earlier. Because faculty relationships were what was called out over and over by the students in the focus groups, and the importance and the closeness they felt to this institution because of what they felt how they could interact with faculty. So really, really important. Likewise, as I mentioned, our focus on student success, faculty success is going to become even more in the headlights, so to speak, as we go into the next year and beyond. As part of that reorganization, Dr. Kathy Browder accepted the role as Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs. We've not had something that was really singled out that way before, but I think it's time to do so because we need, not that we aren't doing stuff already, but we need actually to build that strategy that will help, not taking it out of the college's hands, the departments and the dean's hands where all of that resides as well, but really doing things at a university level that can help to ensure our faculty are progressing and meeting their own professional goals. Because as we all know, that doesn't stop for a student at graduation. It's a lifelong journey for us all. So to think a little bit more about our faculty, just to give you a feel for what and how we rack and stack. If you do the numbers, we're at almost 1,700 faculty. Of those, about 1,500 are academic line faculty, meaning they have no other administrative appointment, like me, who's both faculty ranked and have an administrative role, or administrative faculty may hold only that administrative role without an affiliation into a college and department. You can see then how those break out in terms of the full-time and part-time academic faculty. Another thing that I want to keep really in our sights is that undergraduate student to faculty ratio of 16 to 1. So those that teach in our undergraduates program primarily, not maybe exclusively, but as we consider that, that's a great ratio to have and something that we have to keep our eye on as we do continue to increase our enrollment, and certainly faculty growth will be key as well. If you cut and slice and dice faculty in another way, just to give you a feel for it, this is how we all appear as faculty rank and then as tenure. You'll see a large portion are on a non-tenured track. As most of you know, that's utilized extensively in the Medical College of Georgia, in DCG, and really the health sciences colleges, and primarily for clinicians, though not exclusively. And you can see what happened in this last promotion and tenure cycle. So congratulations to all those of you who advanced to that next step in your careers. And then there's our staff. Our staff are so key. We have wonderful staff. We have dedicated staff, dedicated to the mission of this university and dedicated to doing the right thing, as Dr. Keel said, for our students and our patients if they are in patient care. I'm going to talk about the university staff just a bit here, again, to give you a feel for what they are. I hope in the next year also to focus even more on a relationship with the Employee Advisory Council, because it is roughly parallel to our University Faculty Senate in that it's an elected body for our staff. Really key that we hear, we listen to their voice and empower them to really feel that they, on behalf of you as representatives, are making a difference. We have a growing University Faculty Senate emphasis. I think we're doing a great job, and thanks to our leadership there in terms of making it truly a shared governance university. In terms of the university staff, here's how the staff rack and stack. Again, we have a lot of staff, and you can see how they break into mostly full-time and only a fraction part-time, and the race and ethnicity breakdowns that we enjoy. So thank you for that, for the staff. Let's talk a bit about research and scholarship. We say, and we are, a comprehensive research university, but we have lots of work to do there as well. I'm so proud of everyone who's involved in it. It's tough work, it's competitive work, but we are making differences. That said, we got some ways to go. If you look at what our sponsored awards were, sponsored awards is a category that includes more than just research grants, and contracts really can involve other things, contracts and things that come in for services in some ways. You'll see, if you note there, that we actually are down this year. It's interesting because the research dollars, the actual research awards from extramural sources is up, and I'll get to that in a minute. It's up about $2 million within that. But we actually were down a bit because of some contracts that didn't persist this year. In terms of the NIH medical school rankings, because that's one of the KPIs that we always keenly focus on, it's a journey. We are 73rd this year with respect to NIH funding. That is the Blue Ridge Institute's ranking that we use there. 73rd amongst medical schools in the nation. It's up from 74th if you look at 2015. Actually, last year, though, we were 67th. And I've been here a long time, and it's bounced between the low to mid 60s to the low to mid 70s. I mean, we are in that band, and we've got to get the escape velocity to actually propel us up to the next. So even though our extramural funding rose last year for research, so did everybody else's. This is not a static race where we can move forward and everybody else just stands still and lets us. We've got to really be keeping pace always. In terms of that research and scholarship activity, if you see a little bit more here, you'll see the 84.8 sponsored research and the investigators who make that possible, and with their co-investigators as well, of course, and the kind of grant submissions that they are putting in, which are always key. You're not going to get a grant if you don't put it in. You'll never get a dime. We all know that. In addition to the faculty investigators, it's always important, for me at least, to note what kind of other folks we have. We have great research staff, technical staff. Certainly, we also have students and postdocs in various ways that are involved in creating that intellectual product. And that's key for them in their development and their education. It's also key for us as an institution. We have 158 research doctoral students, and I wanted to use that to really springboard to something that I know is in many people's minds, and that is the Carnegie Institutional Classification for Research. This is something the Carnegie Foundation does periodically, not every year, and it ranks what people use. It's not a rank, sorry, not a rank. It's a classification. There's no ranking within, but there are bands of research categories if you grant doctoral degrees. We think of them, although they don't use that term anymore, R1s, R2s, R3s. Previous to this past classification, I'll call it ranking even though I don't mean to, previous classification, Augusta University was an R2, or a doctoral higher research, based on the data that were drawn the previous census. This past year, for the 2018 classification cycle, data were drawn from 17. Okay, so 17 was the census year. The classification methodology, just so everybody understands, I don't want to beat this to death, but it's important that you understand the context. The classification, there's a minimum requirement in order to be considered at all for these categories of R1 and R2, that there be 20 or more graduates in research doctoral programs in that census year. That's 20, and for us, that's in the PhD programs and the EDD programs. 17, we had not actually graduated an EDD student yet. So 17, what you see happen is we had 17 graduates. We didn't have 20 graduates. The year before, we had 20. If you go back another year, we actually had 25. Go back another year, we had 26. So, you know, timing sucks sometimes because this was the year that they did the census. We didn't actually know that that would be the case. You can see what happened thereafter, and you can see why we're charting for FY20, not because we absolutely always intend to have more than 20, henceforth, just because, not for this classification, but because we hope to be that robust in our programs, but because we do know that FY20 will be the next census year. It will be published in 21. So, by golly, we're going to get those students out of here, and they are going to give us at least 20. We actually have 5 that already graduated at the end of summer semester, 5 PhD students, and so we know we're well on track, and we've got at least 15 more by our lights in terms of those. But as you know, the doctoral journey is not a set time always in terms of number of semesters or times and that kind of thing, but we believe that we will have well enough. And as you can see, the $5 million in research expenditures is really a no-brainer. I mean, we've had that, you know, forever and far exceeding that. So just wanted to take the time to help folks understand that. And if you see a PhD or an EDD student, you know, encourage them. Be nice to them. We're also very keenly engaged in how to grow the research, how to increase the scholarship across all our colleges, but certainly that strong right arm is the Medical College of Georgia in terms of the research output. And we've made some great hires this year, some recruits, a couple that are both from inside but also outside through Dean Hess's great recruitment, as well as resources made available through the institution. We have a new cancer center director coming on board in September. Dr. Brian Annex is already here, as is Dr. David Matson, so it's great. Congratulations and welcome here. We also have some folks who were here already, but now are really in the driver's seat in terms of that leadership position that's key, Dr. Johnson and Dr. Liu. So again, thank you, and thank you for accepting those roles. We're also going to be engaged, and Dr. Keel has made one of the real priorities for him this year is to really dig deeply into how the institution can better support and promote research through investment. We do sizable investment already, but in ways that we can really begin to make that difference and to be sure our trajectory continues to go up in this regard. We also do some things with respect to research support from an intramural standpoint. There are dollars that are spent through our Senior Vice President for Research office, Dr. Michael Diamond, a number of programs, both pilot programs as well as directed programs for bridge funding, specifically for summer support for faculty who are on academic year contracts. And so you can see this last year's totaling of that, the number of grants and the dollars in total that were spent. All told, it's about $800,000, maybe not quite. So that too can sometimes make the difference in terms of getting again to that really critical point of being able to go. We've had some great successes recently in terms of some of the awards that have come out of these programs. So they really do have a significant return on investment. Put a pitch in here just because the nomination period is still open and will be through the remainder of this month for the Augusta University Research Institute Awards, the annual awards. You can see them here for a Lifetime Achievement, an Emerging Scientist Award, and a Distinguished Researcher Award. So please, if you have a colleague that you would like to nominate, be sure to do that. And you can do so by contacting Dr. Diamond, or you may have already seen the calls for those nominations. Talk a little bit about the clinical output. We have a number of KPIs in that regard. You will have noted as we were going through the whole list of those. Many of those the majority of those are in the health systems domain. And so I will defer to Ms. Kiefer to do those kinds of rack and stacks when she's been here more than half a minute because she's getting her feet on the ground quickly. And I'm so glad you're here, Christina. But I did want to mention one of those because one of the things that we track is the health professions degrees awarded. Because again, we're about building the health force of Georgia and beyond. So what you can see here, again, if we take the fiscal year 15 and do a 5-year forward, we have increased the output by 24%. That's growth that had to be carefully managed. It came with faculty input and faculty growth in some cases because, as I'm sure you're aware, all of those programs are very highly bounded by accreditation guidelines in terms of requirements, not just guidelines, requirements in terms of how many faculty must be present in order to increase class sizes and things. And we're positioned really to do some more of that. What you see here is that purely health professions type programs, we have 37 total, and that doesn't include the medical residency programs. It does include dentistry because they actually get a certificate within the USG's lexicon, whereas the medical residents don't, and we have many of those. But all in 37 programs, you see the number of students enrolled and how many we graduated, so over 1,000. It is important. I spoke about those accreditations. Everybody's there's always accreditations. And I know Dr. Pretlow in Allied Health feels he never escapes them because amongst all his programs, some programs are always up for its specialty accreditation. But these were some of those that were really key this year, and particularly massive lifts for the faculty and the staff in those programs. So congratulations to them. We also had some other significant accreditations. Our Hall College of Business received a great accreditation again from the AACSB, which is wonderful to have as well. So in terms of economic and outreach, economic development and outreach, I love this picture. Yes, those are little people, and they were in this auditorium, and it's, I think, one of the Storyland Theater kind of outreach things that really have gone on for years and years. But we do so much engagement in our community and a broad community, not just our local. In terms of the outputs and the key performance, we track the economic impact. The last data we have in terms of the entity that actually does that work for us is FY18. You'll see there, though, the trajectory and we are at over 2 billion now. We had been rounding up for a while and saying we were 2 billion, which was true, close. We are truly now over it, and we expect a new quantification of that shortly. We also are trying to get arms around how really to measure the entirety of professional engagement and also the cyber-related collaborations. But suffice it to say, while we don't really put a number specifically against that right now, we have a lot of partnerships. And this is not intended that you actually can read every one of them probably. But nonetheless, across our sectors, we continue to grow because Augusta University is really growing, again, in the recognition by lots of entities, lots of individuals, not just here, but across the country and beyond, that we have something here they would like to be partnered with. They would like to collaborate with us. So some long-standing ones in our educational sector, some new ones there as well, and also additional federal, state, and certainly corporations are really coming to the table. Many of these are around cyber, but that's not all. That is not all. It's a wonderful opportunity for us, and we intend to leverage that fully. But we are also much more than that, and we continue to make great strides there. Financial sustainability is always key. It's not about the money, but somebody said, and I think it actually was a nun, no money, no mission, that you really don't have it. So we do always have to keep an eye on that. In terms of the KPIs, some of the things that we elected to track were the proportion of total expenditures that are spent on administrative efforts. And these are bound by certain definitions as we enter our data into the national data repository. The instructional proportion of expenditures, so it's a good thing in some ways that our administrative proportion has not risen. Should it go down? Should it go up? I think we all think it probably should go down because all that we do is important, but we need it to actually feed the mission, which is the instructional and the research capacity. Instructional proportion has kind of just been very, very slight differences, so it's still at about 38%. Philanthropy is an important thing to track here as well, and I would give a shout out because we continue to need to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first. We are a very, I think, beneficent and charitable community, and we need to leverage that because just because we're a state institution does not mean that we don't need everybody's gifts. So as we start the I Give campaign, which you saw the tents out there, for that to begin, I would just ask, however large or small, if you could contribute as our internal constituency. It makes it such a much more powerful message to those large opportunity givers externally to be able to say that we believe in ourselves and we believe in it by actually supporting it through our gifts. In terms of that administrative look, you'll recall, I think many of you who were here last year, that we were beginning to embark on something the university system had actually made manifest, which was the Comprehensive Administrative Review, or lovingly called CAR. So wanted to give you just a bit of an update with that. There's been a lot of work going on. Many of you were probably involved in it. Others, it may have been pretty peripheral too. But there were 2 different surveys. You can see the way that those actually accounted for here. We had great participation actually in both, and highest in the USG for the activity assessment, which was key. Out of that, we're now in a phase where there have been 4 goals that were identified, and you can see those there related to employee recruitment, retention, budgeting and finance processes, communication and marketing, and information technology. So there are things already underway to streamline, to gain efficiencies across those, but there are additional opportunities. We'll also be doing more in terms of the actual, what they term spans and layers, which is how many people report to a person, a leader, a position, and how many layers down in any unit or sub unit the personnel go. And so expect more to come on that. There's lots of work. There was, I wouldn't say a break over the summer by any means, but there was a little bit of a lull, and we'll be getting back into that fully. Institutional culture is an important aspect. It is what we are together. And there are many ways to measure that. It's hard to get arms around it. It might be a little bit of that. You'll know it when you see it in terms of a great culture. But some of the things that we have used are, one, the scorings from a national study on student engagement that's called the NSSE, the NSSE Engagement Indicators, and then, of course, our own university employee engagement. You'll see here what we've done in that regard. The student, although we rose actually in this last NSSE, these are the outputs from seniors. So all seniors are invited actually to do sort of a reflective look. The scores actually rose a little bit, as you can see from that winding graph, but they're still not where we need to be, and they're not actually as good or just about equal to what they were a few years ago. So for all that our students really appreciate much of what we do, we got to figure out how to address those needs better. And you can see the last of our employee engagement, which isn't the great colleges to work for study, but it kind of is, managed by Modern Think with some additions of questions for us. And we went up just a bit in that. And you can say, well, the 0.05 doesn't mean a whole lot, but it really was significant in some areas. We had notably an overall response in terms of the overall positive of 63% this year compared to 61. We'd love it to be higher. We want to figure out how to make it higher, but at least that was in the right direction. We did have a great response rate, so thank you all who participated in that, going up 11%. And you can see the top positive questions and then the bottom positive questions there, really related to things that are not strangers to us. These are basically the same ones, although we may have increased a little in terms of the positivity, but some of the things that were an issue in the last iteration, which was 18 months prior, are still there. And so we want to figure out in unit planning, in deep and heavy work together, how we can make that the changes needed to really influence and move that needle. One of the things that drives, I believe, institutional culture is that community engagement. This could also fit in the outreach section, certainly, but the community and how we interact there really says so much about who we are as well. And we are a very community-oriented and a giving and a serving community. One of the great initiatives that we talked about last year and introduced was that was being really led, shepherded by Tina Baggett, and so thank you, Tina, for that, was the Carnegie classification for community engagement. This is not the thing about the research that I was talking about before. This is a different classification entirely, to be noted as having a Carnegie community engagement recognition. And so that was begun last year. It looked like a tight race. It was indeed to get that submitted. Tons of work by all of you, racking, stacking, trying to do some reflective thoughts in terms of what we are doing and how. The application was submitted on time. We'll know in December whether we gained that classification this cycle. Whether we did or not, we learned so much about ourselves and learned how to gather things and to really understand and be able to reflect better the value that we provide, but not just that, because it's not, the community engagement is a two-way street. It's not just about what we provide the community, it's what that engagement provides us as the university too. So whatever happens in terms of that classification, we are developing a strategy to really support our Beyond Boundaries priorities. So we've got so much good that we can take from that. So in the last few minutes, what's next? Again, little people. These are our future students. They're also our future cyber warriors, at least we can hope in this case, because these were a whole group of junior Girl Scouts that came for their Girl Scouts cyber event for 2019, and they were really excited to be here. It is cool to see the growth of what's happening here. So what are we doing? A few things quickly. Academic programs that are in development for the next year. You can see some of those that are really on the horizon. Maybe some even in the very latter stages of preparation. There are many more beyond that are at least in the people's minds already, or maybe in some cases on the computer or on paper. Excuse me. In terms of, that was very loud. In terms of how we'll do, but these are some that we intend at this point to be able to put to the university system within the next year. Also wanted to mention a bit about the health workforce in Georgia. We have some exciting things on the horizon there. You may have heard about the intent that we have for the Medical College of Georgia. One, to actually develop and begin to deliver a 3-year curriculum for its medical training. That actually has gone, or it will go, at least if it has not already in the next few days, to the LCME for approval. So that can, once they approve, can actually be delivered. This is a huge, huge thing, a really major change in the way to deliver medical education for us as an institution. It's better. That's been doing it a long time. So the 3-year, then, if we can couple that to 3 years of a residency in primary care, and one of the specialties that are badly needed in rural Georgia in particular, but all of us need them. Then the idea with appropriate philanthropy, state support, other sorts of support, if those students would agree to spend 6 years in an underserved area, they would be able to go tuition free. It's a bold plan. It's not all worked out, but Dr. Hess, Dr. Keel, many others are avidly pursuing the goods to be able to actually make that real for a certain sector of the students. We also are on a track to actually increase the medical school class all in. Not necessarily those that would be on that path alone. So that will have to go to the LCME as well. We've also started and actually just graduated the first cohort of accelerated BSNs. This is important. The College of Nursing, again, with Lucy's leadership and the great faculty, have embarked on something that would really shorten the time that a student could emerge with that fully credentialed BSN and have an RN licensure eligibility. So anything we can do both to shorten the student's time, because shortening means sooner into the workforce, less student debt on the one hand, but also it means we can serve ourselves as patients, as citizens of Georgia receiving that health care better. In terms of investments we've made, and you can see the results already and enjoy those, and others are still in the works, but as Dr. Keel said, we will be doing the groundbreaking in just a couple of weeks for the College of Science and Math. That's been a great journey, and we are so glad to see the shovel in the ground, and even happier when we do, in fact, cut that ribbon. You can see there some of the other things. The Cancer Center Bridge has opened and is occupied fully now. We'll be starting actually the second phase of the Greenblatt Library soon. The first one has been accomplished, completed health sciences building classroom upgrades. The technology in there was woefully old, and so that's been done. If you walked by, at least from the parking lot, or if not, you've probably seen around campus what's going on with the Fine Arts building. They are literally raising the roof so that our students don't have to wear earplugs, and the acoustics are sufficient while they play is one of the things, but also a great redesign that'll really, I think, help to promote and grow our music program. Atrium student dining renovations going on to try to get more opportunities and spaces and capacity there. Wayfinding and signage doesn't sound like much, but the ability to actually find stuff here is really key. And it's been a long journey, but it is actually coming along very nicely, and we have some great signposts along the way and things you can actually now maybe find on Google, for instance, for folks who are trying to get here. In terms of investments to come in 2020, I mentioned the Greenblatt Phase 2. We also have a ball fields complex opportunity to really, again, invest a little bit and truly bring up the quality of our baseball and softball complex. And it will be more than just the playing fields. It'll actually be something that can be used then. The intent would be for outdoor events. It'll be a venue where you can put down a tarp across the baseball field and have stage there and do some things that will really be more of a campus event complex as well. 2 new centers or offices that we're investing in that, again, will help promote our students and what they do and how they interact. New Student and Family Transitions Office out of our recruitment and admissions group, and a Health Professions Advising Center, because we really need to focus particularly not to at all ignore or avoid any of the great advising going on in our advising center, but there's a track there and some opportunities we need to take advantage of. We will be doing a campus climate survey later on in the year. Again, that will be an instrument, probably one that is a nationally normed sort of instrument to try to get a better feel for where we are, both our students as well as faculty and staff. And then on the horizon, we have faculty growth. That's obviously got to come as we increase our enrollment and ramp up our research aspirations. The research growth I mentioned that we're going to be focusing on. We have plans in the works, though no dates that we can promise at this point, for a new residence hall, which we do badly need. Enhanced student dining that will come with that. And oh yes, that parking deck. I couldn't go without at least saying something about that. So those are all really, really on our mind, and actually well developed in terms of some of the planning around it. But as you know, that our fate is not only in our hands, so there are lots of things that have to come together to be able to make those happen. Dr. Keel has posed for us this 16 by 30. That is a goal of 16,000 by 2030. I think some would call this a BHAG. You know what a BHAG is? It's a big, hairy, audacious goal. And it is. It is a big and hairy and audacious goal. But it's a great goal. It's a goal that we should all be aiming toward. There's so many other things that we have to do in the meantime, and part of what we now need to do is plan and do all the things to put in motion the infrastructure, both physical and people and fiscal, to be able to actually meet that. We are more or less on track, but it's going to be a journey. It really will. Whether we get there or not, we will be so much better off, and the students that we serve will be as well. And one of the things that I'd like to leave you with is we will grow, whether to that or even beyond, but we do need to keep track and keep hold of what we are today, that the students really value, and I hope you do as well. And that's those personal connections that really make it worth being what we are. We are indeed a university with a really big heart. Thank you all for being here today. I leave you with some great things you could get involved with. There'll be lots more as we go along. That's your second takeaway for the day. Thank you for being here, and have a great year.
Let the bow break, let it come down, crash. Let the sun fade out to a dark sky. Can't say I'd even notice it was absent.